James Mitchell had everything the world could admire: success, status, and wealth. At 45, he was one of the most influential real estate developers in the city. His home reflected his empire. A grand estate on the outskirts of town, complete with marble floors, endless hallways, and a towering Christmas tree that glittered with imported ornaments. To outsiders, it looked like the perfect holiday scene. But inside James's heart, there was silence, an emptiness money could never fill. 3 years earlier, his wife Sarah had passed away. Her laughter, once the soul of the house during Christmas, was gone. Now, though decorations sparkled and fires burned in the hearth, James felt nothing. He would often sit in his study with a glass of wine, staring at the fireplace, wondering why success only seemed to deepen his loneliness. The only light in his life was his daughter Emma. At 8 years old, she carried the spirit of her mother, bright, hopeful, and full of compassion. Emma had spent days decorating their tree, carefully hanging each ornament, humming Christmas songs, and insisting that her mother was still with them in spirit. She believed Christmas was about kindness, about giving, about people, and though James listened, he rarely felt it. On Christmas Eve, James and Emma drove downtown to pick up last-minute gifts. The city was alive with festivity. Carolers sang on corners, families bustled in and out of toy shops, and lights twinkled on every street. For James, it was a hollow display. For Emma, it was magic. As they parked near a shopping plaza, Emma tugged on his coat sleeve. "Daddy, look," she whispered. Across the street, a young woman sat by a waste bin, her shoulders trembling in the cold. She wore a ragged scarf, pulled tight around her face, and was digging desperately through discarded wrappers, searching for food. Emma's eyes filled with tears. "She's hungry, Daddy." He swallowed hard, torn between the comfort of walking away and the risk of opening his guarded heart. For a moment, snowflakes drifted in silence between them. Then James made his choice. "Come on," he said, taking Emma's hand. "Let's talk to her." James froze. His first instinct was to look away. People in need were everywhere in the city. Helping one person wouldn't change the world. But when he turned to Emma, her pleading expression pierced through him. In her eyes, he saw Sarah. He heard her voice, soft but firm, as if whispering through time. "Christmas isn't about what you have, James. It's about what you give." Emma's face lit up. Together, they stepped across the snowy street, toward the figure who would soon change their Christmas forever. As James and Emma approached, the young woman startled, clutching her worn coat tighter around her shoulders. Her eyes flickered with a mix of fear and embarrassment, as though she expected to be scolded for existing in the wrong place. She looked so small against the backdrop of the bustling city. Like a shadow, everyone hurried past, unseen. Emma was the first to speak. Her voice was gentle but firm. "Are you okay? Do you need food?" The woman blinked, stunned by the child's kindness. Slowly, she nodded. Her voice was hoarse, barely more than a whisper. I'm fine. Don't worry about me." "What's your name?" James asked softly. James crouched beside her, lowering himself to her level. Up close, he could see her face beneath the scarf. She couldn't have been older than 23 or 24, with pale cheeks and eyes dulled by exhaustion. He noticed her fingers trembling, not just from cold, but from hunger. Emma smiled. "That's a pretty name." She hesitated, as though even her name was a secret too heavy to share. Finally, she whispered, "Grace." For a moment, Grace's lips curved upward. Perhaps the first time in weeks, she'd smiled. She looked at Emma with watery eyes. "Thank you." James reached into his coat pocket and handed Grace a folded bill, but she shook her head fiercely, refusing. "Please, I don't want pity," she said. "I just need a chance to feel normal again." Her words struck him. He had given away money before. Donations, sponsorships, checks to charities. But this wasn't about money. This was about humanity. Emma tugged at his sleeve. "Daddy, can she come home with us? Just for tonight?" James blinked, startled. Bringing a stranger home was unthinkable. His world was carefully controlled, guarded, But Emma's request stirred something in him. Sarah's words echoed once more. Don't measure ready by what they lack. Measure them by the hope they carry. He turned back to Grace. Where are your family? He asked quietly. Grace's eyes dimmed. I don't have any. My grandmother raised me, but she passed away last winter. Since then, I've been moving from place to place. I thought I could make it here. But everything slipped away so fast. Her voice cracked as she added, It's been weeks since I've had a warm bed. Silence hung in the air, broken only by the faint sound of distant carolers. James felt a lump rise in his throat. This young woman who had lost everything reminded him painfully of what he still had but never appreciated. He took a deep breath. Grace, he said firmly, come with us. My daughter and I are having Christmas dinner tonight. We'd be honored if you joined us. And we have a guest room. You can stay there, just until you find your feet. Grace's eyes widened in disbelief. For a moment she simply stared at him, as though unsure whether to trust his words. Then Emma slipped her small hand into Grace's. Please, say yes, she whispered. Tears rolled down Grace's cheeks. She nodded. Yes, thank you. The Mitchell home glowed warmly against the snowy night, its windows twinkling with golden light and festive decorations. As James unlocked the door and stepped aside, Grace hesitated on the porch. She looked like someone afraid to cross a threshold she didn't deserve. Emma tugged her hand reassuringly. That night, James didn't just invite a stranger into his home. He unknowingly invited a miracle that would reshape his Christmas and his heart forever. Come on, the little girl beamed. It's warm inside. Grace stepped in, and the heat of the home embraced her like an old friend. The scent of roasted turkey, cinnamon, and baked bread filled the air. For a moment, Grace closed her eyes, inhaling deeply. She hadn't smelled such comfort in years. James took her coat, noticing how light it was, barely enough to protect against the bitter cold. Emma rushed ahead, excitedly showing her the Christmas tree, tall and shimmering with ornaments, the star on knot glowing proudly. Grace stared at it, mesmerized. It's beautiful, she whispered. Dinner was set in the dining room. The long oak table lined with candles, plates, and food that looked like it belonged in a holiday magazine. Grace sat at the edge of her chair, nervous, as though afraid of breaking something just by being there. James raised a glass of cider. To new beginnings, he said. Emma giggled, repeating it. Grace hesitated, then clinked her glass softly against theirs. At first, the silence was heavy, but Emma's chatter soon filled the room. She told stories about school, her favorite Christmas songs, and even imitated her teacher's funny voice, making Grace laugh until she covered her mouth in surprise. James watched her carefully. That laughter, it wasn't just sound. It was a release, a crack in the wall she had built around herself. Between bites, Grace opened up. She told them about her grandmother who raised her, about the little cabin they once decorated for Christmas. She always said Christmas wasn't about the gifts under the tree. Grace recalled softly, but about who was gathered around it. Her eyes shimmered. I haven't had that in so long. The room fell quiet. James felt a pang of guilt. How many Christmases had he wasted drowning in work, ignoring what truly mattered? He realized Emma had been right all along. After dinner, Emma begged Grace to join in opening a few presents. James watched as his daughter handed Grace a small package she had wrapped herself. Inside was a knitted scarf, pink and soft. It's not much, Emma said shyly. Grace hugged the scarf to her chest. Overwhelmed, tears slipped down her face. It's everything, she whispered.